Starting Facebook.
All right. Welcome to another weekly Firing Pin live stream. My name is Brandon, here as always with Pat, Instructor Pat, and
Tyler. How's it going,
Tyler,
guys?
the creator, I think. Isn't that your name? I don't know if you can legally use that name.
I don't think you can use
Probably not. We've got other names, oh my gosh, that we call him. That's all right. No problem. We have got a packed show as always. We've got a ton of good content. We would love it, though, if you started rolling in the questions. We love getting questions from you guys. Obviously, gun-related is the #1 priority. We'll take questions of any kind. I'm always scared when I say that, but that's okay. Tonight, Pat is going to be going over some different kinds of scopes and different sighting arrangements and different ways to just use your sights. There's a lot more to it than just line them up and shoot, right? We've got a lot to talk about with the radios. We've got a lot to talk about with training and different shooting teams that we're going to start up here soon that we're very excited about. But as always, we have got a cool giveaway tonight. Ty, why don't you tell us about our giveaway, brother?
All right, tonight's giveaway is this. Let me orientate it in the right direction. Awesome Bulldog Tactical bag. The thing I like about this is it has backpack straps so you can wear it. A lot of people that ride bikes and want to come to the range use these. I think it's pretty cool. It's got lots of pouches, mag stuff, and can hold 2 rifles kind of. So if you want to win this guy, very simple. All you have to do is stay active, comment. I'm actually going to draw this one live tonight. So the more I see your name, the more I interact with you, the more I'll remember you. So keep that in mind, guys.
Nice, nice. What's the value of that bag, Ty? That's got to be at least.
Actually, I don't have a tax. I want to say it's $75.
Yeah, it's a pretty good bag. Like
plus tax.
Yeah, it's not just some cheapo,
Not at
you
all.
know. And to go along with that, I've got a giveaway myself that I was going to do tonight, right? So I announced this on the Attica page, and if you're not familiar with the Attica page, we have got a lot of interest in radios lately. Amateur radio, GMRS radio. So we have set up another Facebook page, Attica 462-575 GMRS repeater. We link stuff all the time. I run the page along with Andrew and Tyler and a couple other people. It's one of our sister pages, I would call it. And yeah, that is a extensive network of people, mostly 2A activists like me and like yourselves, hopefully, that we, when Corona was really hitting in the beginning of March, we looked at what we had and we realized that one of the key components we were missing was communication, right? Huge piece of the puzzle when it comes to a survival or SHTF situation, right? If you can't communicate with your team, you're done, right? You're out of the loop. So I have been growing that page. I am super excited to say that it has reached over 1,000 likes already. We've only been having it for a few months. So in commemoration of it reaching 1,000 likes, I'm going to give away this Motorola XTS 3000 in the clear. I'm going to turn the light on here in the clear case, translucent case. Remember your Game Boy from back in the day? This is a $250 radio. All right. The only thing I'm asking, go to our Attica page and share our latest live stream video. Andrew and I do a bi-weekly live stream over there, all about radios, all about GMRS, fun. We just, we don't even plan that one out. We just sit down and start talking radios. And an hour and a half later, we're still talking radios and our wives are calling us mad. But this radio, I'm going to give it away. I'm going to give it a few more days, but go on our Attica page and share that live stream video, the last one we just did. And somebody who shares that video is going to win this $250 radio. And hopefully I get to talk to them on the air. I've got my radio on right over there. I was talking on it earlier today. It is quite an extensive network we've built that reaches all the way from Buffalo to Rochester and most points in between. So if you'd like to learn more about our GMRS radio network, go to our website, attica575.com. You can learn all about it. And we've got a lot of fun stuff in the works. A lot more to do with radios. If you really want to see everything, like that Attica page, because that's where we try to focus it, because obviously not everybody on the Firing Pin page is into the radio stuff as deep as we are. So if you are, go on the Attica page, like it, follow it. And we've got a lot of stuff coming up that we're very excited about in regards to ham, GMRS, amateur radio, a lot of fun stuff in the works. Steve Filano from 2A, he's on there all the time. I hear him when he's coming out here to do training with Pat. He's been killing it lately with YouTube. I've just been getting a ton of training in, making a ton of excellent content we'll talk about in a little bit here. And we're very excited with that partnership. We're very glad we partnered up with Steve, and we're working with 2A New York State. They are really the up-and-coming gun rights activism group here in New York. You know, not to downplay any of the efforts or successes or failures that the other political groups in New York have had in regards to gun rights, but 2A New York is just a new angle. They're very trial and lawsuit focused, and they get results. Jim Ostrowski, their lawyer, is one of the very few lawyers who's been successful in defending people against SAFE Act violation lawsuits and criminal proceedings and things like that. So please, if you can, go on their website, 2A New York State, and support them and our lawsuit. Really don't have any updates on our lawsuit. We get a lot of people asking. It's going through the motions. The court obviously has shut us down in every way. You know, when we try to attack being shut down and having your rights denied, you know, not being able to get a pistol permit during this whole Corona shutdown thing. So we're taking that fight to them, taking the SAFE Act fight to them, trying to get that removed. This whole process of the government offices being closed, so therefore your rights are being denied, is absolutely ridiculous. So we are still fighting the fight. We hope to take it to the next level. I believe it's circuit court. It's so confusing. I never remember which ones are which, but we hope to take it to a New York City court that Jim, our lawyer, is very well versed in and has won several times down there. And if not there, then we're going to take it to the Supreme Court. We're going to take it to wherever it needs to go for our message to be heard and for your rights to be restored. So that's what I promise to you. We're going to make it happen, all right? And if you want to help us make it happen, 2A New York, they're the ones that are really driving the fundraising end of this, and they could really use your help, and we could really use your help. As you know, fighting the man, it's not cheap. Not cheap at all. Ty, how you doing this week, buddy?
Doing wonderful. Doing really wonderful.
It's awesome.
Work, as usual. Can't complain about, you know, I love working. COVID sucked with no work, so I'm happy to be back. How about you?
Really, you can't complain? I could have sworn if you were in the store about 20 minutes ago, you would have heard some complaining. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm doing good. I was out at beautiful Camp Dittmer today. Any of you involved with scouting in the region might be familiar with Camp Dittmer. I was taking a load of lumber down there. A friend of mine, Ron Boyd, has been leading a project of building some lean-tos down there for the campers and just helping them out little by little. We had a little picnic out there with the fam. Had a lot of fun. It was a good day. Good day to be a free American, even though we're behind enemy lines, so to speak, here in New York. So yeah, another thing, those of you that saw over the weekend, several of us, Josh, Andrew, our master radio tech, and myself went to our first CMP match, Civilian Marksmanship Program. So a lot of people know the CMP as where you can buy an M1 Garand right from the U.S. government. Still possible to do that. And they also run the Camp Perry and other shoots all over the country. And they're really, for that, like bullseye and long range rifle marksmanship style of competition, they're still the number one place to do that. They've got all of the competitors over there. And Josh, myself, and Andrew, we had a lot of fun. I did terribly. I did under 200. But Josh and Andrew, they absolutely killed it. They were in the mid 200s with their score, having never competed before. Now we're shooting at 200 yards, shooting at 10 to 12 inch bullseye circles, open sights, just rifle sights. They killed it. They did absolutely beautiful. And doing that competition and talking to them afterwards, and talking to them, in group texts and stuff afterwards, and talking to Pat and some of the other guys here. We're going to start a new program where we're going to start having actual TFP shooting teams, right? Why don't you come out here, Pat?
Tell me more.
Yeah, tell me more. So, this stemmed from Pat going down to the games and his great success down there, and wanting to, again, develop that up here and just nurture that spirit of competition. And then seeing the CMP, the service rifle, and just realizing, there are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you almost could lose track of the different disciplines in this area.
Sure.
And they really are just not supported, like we feel they should be. So what we'd like to start doing, we're going to start with 2 of these teams and potentially a third and a fourth very shortly. But we're going to start with a tactical games and a service rifle team. All right. And we will very soon be having some type of competition or some type of application process where if you're interested, you can apply or compete to be on the team, and then we'll sponsor the team. We'll bring in coaches. We'll have training time. We'll have training space. We'll have maybe training ammo allowances, which is huge these days. We'll have, again, maybe a gear allowance. If you've got a competitor who's really like, I've been on the team for 6 months, I'm really putting in the work, I've got that hunger to compete. Well, hey, you would do a lot better if you had this holster or this sling or this. That's not always the answer, but it sometimes is. It's
Gear
certainly helps. Yeah. So, hey, the team has these resources. You're committed to the team. You're going to stay committed to the team, we hope. Here's this piece of kit, and we're trying to foster that competition. And we were hoping maybe, too, we could call out some of our friends like Mike over at All-Star, Frank over at Escarpment, and Bull Creek Strategic, kind of pick on some of our friends, have them start some teams, right? Have some inter-gun store or inter-club rivalries starting.
Or maybe at least, help us to coach up our teams.
Absolutely,
or to come out and compete against our teams.
There will definitely be copious amounts of pizza and beer and fellowship after all of these. Of course. It'll all be good fun, good-natured ribbing. But, so that's just a little teaser of something that we're going to be bringing to you. We will be shortly here in the next month or two. It's tough right now because a lot of competitions aren't happening and it's tough. People can't really meet the same, but we'd like to develop this program. So again, leave us a note, leave us a comment. What discipline would you be interested in? What do you want to see us do? I would love to sponsor a trap team, both a youth team. I know it's hard because they're all based out of the schools, but again, maybe we could have a youth team that we sponsor and a youth team that All-Star Tactical sponsors and a youth team that Escarpment or Bull Creek and we can have our private non-school teams compete against each other too. We'd have a lot of fun with it. And just to spice things up, I guess, in the local, scene.
I think it's a great idea. I think we need more support for the gun culture as a whole. I think sometimes the gun culture gets a lot of negative attention shined on it. Mm-hmm. So it'd be good if we could shine some positive attention on it.
Sure.
And build a sense of community around it.
Sure.
And also just get, more people engaged in Second Amendment issues, right? Because I think
Absolutely.
a lot of people just really don't pay attention to that stuff in their everyday lives the way that we kind of do here, doing what we do. So I think just to, bring people's attention to some of the different legal aspects that we're contending with,
Sure.
lawsuits and whatever else.
Yeah.
But also just to get people more comfortable around guns generally, right?
Yeah,
And to
normalize
break the
yeah.
stigma a little
Yep.
bit, but also, to get people engaged with the family side more too,
Sure.
like you indicated.
Sure.
Maybe some youth teams would be a good thing. Maybe doing some like parent-child type
Ooh, that'd be
matches,
fun.
right?
That'd be
With some
fun.
like age categories mixed in there, right? So if you have
I
like
don't think I've seen that anymore.
12 to
That'd be cool.
14-year-old
Yeah.
kid, and then mom or dad or
Sure.
whomever competing
Sure.
alongside, right? 2-person team kind of aspect to just, again, foster some
I've
competition.
seen a lot of team competitions, but I've never seen a parent-child one.
And I think that would be a really
pretty cool.
neat, because I have
Yeah.
kids that fall into a couple of different age ranges that
I'm
we could do.
trademarking that right now. You can't steal that.
That's ours. We
Ours.
own it now.
Ah,
So just so that you know. That's,
putting it in an envelope, mailing it to myself or whatever, right?
the internet is forever. Right? So it's out there.
Oh man, someone just registered the domain name already.
We're
probably.
host.
Yeah, damn it. That's all right. But yeah, so again, just Pat going down to almost every time I have to stop myself from saying the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
With Pat competing for District 4 in the Hunger Games.
I was very hungry for most of that. So yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, just seeing that and going to my first CMP match, it really just lit a fire under us and realized, we could be doing more in the local community.
Sure.
And so we want to. So we need your help. Let us know what you think about this idea. Let us know what you'd be interested in competing in, maybe, or supporting. We're obviously going to have to do some fundraisers for some of these things, and the teams will, we get a bunch of me and Pat out there doing car washes, maybe, whatever it takes,
I'm into it. Whatever we got to do to, get the involved in shooting. That's what we want to do.
If that's what it takes, I'll be out there.
All right.
You're not going to like it, but I'll be out there.
Or maybe they'll just pay us to put our clothes on.
That works too, telethon style. Yeah,
Hey,
I like that. I
what are we gonna
like
do?
that. A couple more things before I turn it over to Pat. He's got the meat and potatoes of tonight. Maybe we got some questions that came in. We could interject a little bit too. Maybe, I don't know. They'll let me know. Your people will call my people. I would like to put a couple more shameless plugs out there. One, please check our Facebook events section specifically for a lot of upcoming training. Pat uploaded a lot of dates on there, and more will be coming every day. There are some awesome training opportunities, and I believe we've got a little bit of ammo stashed away.
We have some for the training department. So those of you who are interested in coming to some of these,
you see some of these classes where it's like you need 100 rounds or something, and you can't get that. Like, let us know. Please try to use your sources though. We do only have a limited amount for this, but we are trying to set some aside specifically for training,
so we can get you guys in here for some classes.
Yep.
The other thing too, when we introduce some more of these classes, the next round is definitely going to have some carbine stuff in there. So with the carbine stuff, guys, we're working a couple of different angles here to try and get you guys more engaged on the black rifle side. So we're going to try and have some upper or lower receiver action on hand so that we can facilitate you guys going through some magazine changes, and also just so that we can eliminate some of the issues that we run into with double feeds and different malfunctions associated with fixed magazine rifles.
Sure.
I don't want to deal with that in the middle of a class. I know none of you guys want to deal with that. It slows training down. It can create some unsafe conditions potentially, and some of you guys may or may not have ever been exposed to dealing with some of those things before. And if we have like metal mags or different weird stuff like that, can throw an extra layer of complexity in there. So what we would like to do is in order to facilitate the safety side, but also just for practicality of what that rifle is, we want to incorporate some detachable magazine lower receivers from our end, so that you guys can still use your optics and your charging handles and all the different equipment that you've come to be used to on your own gun, but in a configuration that allows for, again, those detachable magazines. And of course, we'll take some mags and spray paint them like hot pinks.
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that. But
no shame.
So for any of our open enrollment stuff right now, we're looking at around $75. Typically, it's like a 2-hour class, so it's not even a half day. It's just a little chunk. So $75 seems to be a pretty happy price point for that. Yeah,
but you will learn a ton.
Oh, absolutely. We pack a lot of
insane
information in
value.
sure.
And yeah, I guess to tease again, for those of you that saw what Pat was doing down at the tactical games and have style of competition up here, Pat, myself, and Steve Filano have been talking heavily in depth with the tactical games people. That is coming here. Like that will be happening very soon.
We have the agreement. We just got to finalize some of the details and get it official, signed, sealed, delivered kind of thing. But yes, we are working closely with them. We would be, if all goes the way to plan here, we're looking at being the first indoor shooting range that's ever hosted like a tactical game skirmish. So that can be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And
a lot of logistics that Pat has been just sitting down. He's got 2 notebooks completely full already of well, if we start over here and go over here and we run in here at 3:02 and they radio, we got to use the radios.
Yeah.
Right?
The timing and everything's got to be, we got to be Johnny on the spot to make this work.
It'll be good.
But we're going to get it done.
And you guys should start training now.
Yes, I would definitely start lifting heavy objects, shooting guns, eat your Wheaties, all of the above, right?
I don't want to say too much of it, but did you see that meme I posted where there's a very attractive girl and then over front of it is a Navy SEAL guy, and he's like, "No, stop looking at the girl. Those things are temporary. Why aren't you waking up earlier? You've been eating sugar again, haven't you?" That was too funny. Too funny. The last thing that I wanted to just put out there real quick before I turn things over to Pat is, I've alluded to this before, but we have a ton of really nice high-end live streaming and podcasting equipment now. To make this show happen, we wanted to get the right gear. We've got some very cool items and some very, again, high-end pieces of gear. We can make things happen here. We've got space. We've got the gear. We only use it once a week. So if you have ideas, if your friends have ideas for a podcast, a show, a live stream that they want to do, please send us an email, shoot us a Facebook message, get in touch with us. Like, we'll work with you. Like, extremely affordable. We just want people using this equipment and having fun and just putting content out there. Specifically, I mean, man, if it's a 2A, anything gun related.
Oh,
like,
definitely. We'll be
come
happy
on
to
out.
help.
Yeah, we will help you very, very much. We'd love it. So, yeah, there you go, Ty. Anything. We don't care. If you've got the black leather couch already, we're good to go. We'll bring this to you. Let us know for sure on that one. But yeah, Pat, I want to turn things over to you unless Ty's got some questions for us.
Ty, do you have any questions we want to hit before we get this rig rolling?
I have gotten a couple good questions.
Let's do it.
Nice.
It's related to training before we're done.
Absolutely.
Okay. Michelle Marr asked, are there any plans for any like female only classes?
So one of the things, guys, obviously I don't self-identify as a female. In case you guys didn't know that, I am a male person. So with that in mind, I've been hesitant to put on a female only class because I am not a female person. So some of the specific issues that pertain to female concealed carry permit holders or responsibly armed citizens or otherwise are not necessarily within my wheelhouse. Now, we do have contacts in that kind of realm with the well-armed women and stuff like that. And I would be more than happy to put you in touch with somebody that's more of like a subject matter expert in some of those matters. But, and I'm happy to work with female shooters in groups or as individuals. I have no qualms about, working with members of any of, those different types of groups, whatever they may be. So that's not the issue. The issue is I don't know enough specific to female, concealed carry questions and issues that come up. And that's not necessarily going to be not everybody's going to be comfortable with a female only class put on by a male instructor, I guess. So I've always hesitated with that.
Your wife, being the lovely lady that she is going to bring us.
Rhea?
That's not a question. That's a statement.
I like donuts. Okay, that's very good. Thank you.
Another question is based on instruction.
Sure.
How do you get into instructing, Pat?
Well, so I guess it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. I can talk a little bit about where I'm coming from with this whole thing. So I was actually I was in the Army. Some of you guys know that. I served from 2006 until 2012 on active duty, and during that time, I was on a couple different combat deployments. During my first combat deployment, I was actually injured. And after my injury, I was moved from the line platoon where I was doing mostly route clearance type operations into the headquarters platoon where I was working as the unit armorer. So I did that throughout the rest of my combat deployment. And then when we got stateside, things started happening pretty fast, and I ended up getting promoted not long after we returned home. So then I was not the unit armor anymore. I was in the armsroom NCO. So as the armsroom NCOIC, I had to go to, a bunch of different ranges and stuff like that. I was always involved in coaching soldiers, whether it was for, preliminary marksmanship instruction, for individual weapons qualifications on the range, or whether it was running machine gun ranges, or whether it was running the engagement skills trainer, the big computer simulator that we used to use leading into qualifications and for other types of training and stuff like that. So I was pretty heavily involved in, marksmanship training specifically and running ranges and all that kind of stuff during my last couple of years when I was on active duty. So I really liked that a lot, and I was pretty good at it. So that kind of, I took that and just ran with it. When I got out, I decided that I wanted to stay involved with shooting, obviously, because I've been shooting my whole life. And I wanted to stay involved with training because that was something that I was really successful with. And so I just looked into different ways that I could leverage my military service into, some instructor certifications. At that time, I was lucky. And the GI Bill was actually paying for people to go to different shooting schools. So I went to Sig Sauer Academy and got my patrol rifle instructor certificate. And you guys actually paid for it. So thank you very much. Because that was awesome. And then from there, I went to, the NRA basic pistol instructor course and the USCCA, concealed carry and home defense fundamentals course, and the 6-hour semi-auto pistol instructor course, and their master pistol instructor course. And those were all not taxpayer funded, unfortunately. Those were either funded by myself or since I've been working with the firing pin, obviously, my work has helped me out quite a lot with that. So I think everybody's path is a little bit different, but mine was just like, I was in the military and I was involved with training and I wanted to stay involved with training. So now I get to do it for you fine folks instead of for soldiers.
Oh, you're looking to me like you have.
Sure, yeah. I mean, if you've got some more.
We're having tons of questions. Like, it's hard for me to keep up. I love it. Please.
Well, I would be happy to answer one or two more. I do have some other stuff I want to hit on. Absolutely.
Carbine rifle building classes. I know we've tried that in the past a little. There's a little bit of gray area with that as far as the store goes. What do we think about any kind of like building class?
I think as long as the issue with that was when you got into like doing an 80%er, you know what I mean? And some guys like, hey, can you
mill this out? And then we're like manufacturing, and that involves different stuff.
If you have an AR-15, if you have the parts and you're not sure how to put it together, like bring it down. Pat would love to do like a one-on-one class with you or John.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, they would love to do classes like that, and I highly encourage it.
I did one earlier this week on Monday morning. Yeah. I was in the classroom at 9 a.m. with two guys, and we.
And it's nice because we've got a lot of the tools. We've got the blocks, the receiver block,
torque wrenches, and different things. We have all the right, thread treatments and make sure.
Done it once or twice, so
Yeah, we have a little bit of experience there. So, yeah, I think we can get you through it.
So there was one. Sorry, Ty. I was looking at the Facebook while Pat was talking. I saw one, and this was echoed a couple other ways too. I saw some people in the Discord, which Ty, maybe you could plug that in a second. But I saw some people in the Discord, like they really want to do the tactical game stuff, but they're just not confident in the physical side of things. Maybe they're older, maybe they have an injury. Are we going to have maybe a division or maybe a separate class or whatever you want to call it of tactical games where it's still the games, but maybe it's it's dialed back, or maybe you can just explain like how the tactical games works around that, because they have workarounds too for that.
Yeah, so I think any of that tactical fitness stuff that we're going to be doing, I think we can always kind of scale that around your individual ability level. Sure. And I think that that's really important to recognize. We've all got different injuries and stuff like that. Or, I shouldn't say we all. Many of us have different injuries and stuff like that. I personally have injured my right knee a number of times. I have a couple screws in there. And, it doesn't always cooperate with me when I want it to, right? So I have different limitations there too. And I have to learn to work within my own ability level, right? Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, I would absolutely encourage any of you guys. I'm not out for this isn't some S&M thing, right? Like I'm not here to try and beat you up and hurt me. I mean, yeah, maybe a little bit more on the masochistic side. I'll beat myself up, but not you guys, right? So the idea is I want it to be something that we can scale based on your individual ability level. And I don't want any of this to sound intimidating or be intimidating. That's not what this is about, guys. It's supposed to be fun. Right. And this is all supposed to be done in the spirit of getting better. There's certainly tactical fitness, not tactical brokenness, as Pat McNamara would say. Right? Like we're working toward a goal of becoming better, not becoming more broke off and broken down. So
there's definitely going to be guys, like me, Olympic athlete level,
100%.
Who are going to be
I'm never going
elite, right? Like I don't even sign up and compete at these just because it's just not fair.
Can't smoke a rock. You know what I'm saying?
So, but I'm in that same camp, brother. Like that's me. I'm going to go to these to shake down my gear, to make sure what I'm doing, works in these different scenarios. But I know I'm not going to be up on the podium. I know I'm going to have to, like you were designing one with pull-ups. Like I can do like a pull-up normally. Right. So now you've got all this gear on me. Like I'm not going to be able to do one. So there's going to have to be, maybe you eat a minute of time. Right. Or there's always going to be a workaround or at the elite level, if you're trying to be like the majors, you know what I mean? Like a pro competitor.
If you really want to,
Right. But for most of us, this is going to be just a great training opportunity. Again, the atmosphere there, again, a lot of people are going to be intimidated by this, but the atmosphere at that event was almost like a family barbecue or like a family reunion type of thing. Like
everybody was just there to have a good time.
Everybody was there to support each other. Yeah, like so.
This is about community, right? This
it
is
really
about,
will.
Yeah, this is about building a community, and this is about getting everybody more engaged.
Sure.
So don't think you're going to come out one time and that's all you're going to be able to stand.
Right.
The goal is you're going to come out one time. You're going to learn a little bit about where you kind of stand and some things that you need to work on, but you're going to develop a taste for it, and you're going to want to keep coming back because it's going to be fun. It's going to be challenging, and you're going to walk away with a better idea of what you can do and some of the things that you need to, focus on to get better so that you can do it at a different time. Right?
I know there's a lot of matches that do this. I think we should start the same tradition. We'll also do the lowest scoring person. We'll get a free lesson from Pat.
Hey, you know what? If that's what it takes to get more people involved, I'm willing to put, some of my own time out there.
Because even that lowest scoring person is better and more prepared now after that match than someone who didn't show up or someone who hasn't done anything like that. So even them just showing up, even though they placed last, even them just showing up, they're worlds ahead of everybody else that didn't, even try.
The hardest part is just getting out there to do it,
Absolutely.
Right? And then once you've been out there to do it, I think it's going to excite you. I think it's going to suck you in.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, right? We want people to come out there and leave wanting more. So
what do they call their senior division, for lack of
the Masters?
Masters. Okay, yeah. So we will certainly have a Masters division. We'll certainly have,
and there'll probably be like a light division too, where you
Sure.
don't have. If I don't have a plate carrier, maybe I just have a chest rig. Maybe I just have a gun belt and a
Sure.
few spare magazines.
Sure.
Maybe I'm not running a whole bunch of kit. Maybe I have a plate carrier and I don't want to run it the
Sure.
first time out because I'm not, totally confident in my ability, right? One thing we're not going to do, guys, is we're not going to put anybody at risk, right? We're
Sure.
not going to do anything that
Sure.
potentially opens you up to some sort of an injury or something like that.
Yeah.
A, because we don't want to be liable, and B, because again, this has nothing to do with trying to show off. This isn't about like, look what we can do. Right. This is about like, look what you can potentially do if you develop those skills and put in some time. Right. So that's what it's about.
I love it.
Ty, you got any more for me? Anything else you want to hit now, or do you want to circle back later?
Quick little Discord plug. We have a TFP community Discord channel, or server, I should say. It's kind of all just run by us, and I'm going to drop a link as soon as my little window disappears. There's going to be a link in the live stream. Anybody that has a Discord, anybody that wants to make a Discord, if you want to chat with us, our customer base, ask questions, send pictures of your rifles or other firearms, make it. Check out the Discord, please. It's awesome.
Okay, very cool. Thank you, Tyler. So now I want to hit home a little bit on some of the first. I had a great question that was posed to me by a member of our Discord earlier in the day. So Joe Terzo, this is for you. Earlier today, somebody mentioned to me, hey, can you hit a little bit on some of the different sighting techniques out there for handguns? So not all of your handgun sights, guys, are going to be set up identically to one another. Okay, and I'll give you for instance, some of your handguns are going to be set up for what we call a 6 o'clock. To my right, your left. You're going to see right here is a target with a set of sights that are superimposed down below. Okay, so that would be what we term a 6 o'clock hold. So the 6 o'clock hold is basically for aligning your sights underneath your target so that you're not actually obscuring your target, right? This is not a very commonly seen sighting setup, on like a typical carry gun. Generally, something like this is going to be more of, and I see this more on older guns. I don't see sight setups as common on modern guns nowadays. What we're seeing more of now is going to be the center hold here in the middle, where we're actually putting our front sight, the top edge of our front sight, exactly where we want to place the shot. So we call that the half and half, right? We're covering half of the bullseye with the front sight, with the idea that we're going to place our bullet directly in the center of that bullseye on the top edge of that front sight. And you're going to see like your Glocks and a lot of your carry guns are set up for that center hold. Now, some of your SIG pistols, particularly the older P220 series guns, are going to be set up for a combat hold. And what a combat hold is a combat hold is where I'm just placing my front sight over top of whatever it is I intend to shoot. Right? So I just see my target, I place my front sight on top of my target so that it's covered up, and then I press the trigger and my bullet goes into the center of that bullseye, which is also a reference to the center of my front sight dot. Okay, so all of your handguns aren't going to be aimed in exactly the same way. If you go out to the range and you're using that combat hold and you realize that your rounds are consistently impacting high, a couple of things could be going on. First thing that could be going on is you could be just outside of your kind of near zero. Now understand, your handgun, just like your long guns, the trajectory of that bullet is going to follow somewhat of an arc. Now it's going to be relatively short arc. It's not going to have, you know, the same trajectory as your rifle bullets, where it's going to be, you know, really pronounced there. But the bullet is going to rise. We'll just set an example of a 1550 yard zero, right? We've heard of the 1550 for our red dot sights. So your red dot, you might zero it at 15 yards so that you can shoot a good group. And that 15 yard zero, it represents your near zero, and your 50 yard zero is the same exact sight placement and sight alignment on the target. But in between that 15 yard mark and the 50 yard line, the bullet is going to come up just a little bit. So at 25 or 30 yards, your bullet might be impacting an inch or an inch and a half high, right? Because that bullet is arcing toward the target. So it rises up to our line of sight at the 15 yard line. It eclipses our line of sight, goes slightly over the top, and then it comes right back down in there at the 50 yard mark, right? So that's kind of the trajectory of your pistol bullet. It doesn't change a whole lot in that distance, but there is somewhat of, you know, an arc there. So we do have to pay attention to distance when we're aiming that handgun, because it's not always going to be point of aim and point of impact are identical to one another. Okay, so it's a little bit about some of the different sighting arrangements and the holds for those sighting arrangements. I also want to talk a little bit about sighting techniques, right? Because not all sighting techniques are the same. And I'll give you guys a for instance. If I needed to hit a silhouette target, roughly the same size as my torso, at 5 yards, okay? I don't need to really see my front sight aligned with anything in reference to that target in order to be able to secure a hit on something the same size as my torso, right? So what I would be looking for that type of situation would be what we call a flash sight picture. So I'm just going to see my target, bring my handgun up to my line of sight, see the flash of orange or green or whatever color is my front sight. I'm going to see that color flash onto the target, and I'm going to be ready to deliver that shot as soon as I get that input from my sights. As soon as I see that flash of color, I know that my sight is in a good enough placement relative to that target. I don't need to worry too much about the alignment of the front sight in reference to the rear sight. Flash of color, good to go. Now at 15 yards, I may need a little bit more precise sight alignment to make that shot, right? So the speed accuracy balance is going to be favored a little bit less on the speed side, a little bit more on the accuracy side. So now I may need to use what we call a float the dot, break the shot, or a shooting out of the notch type of sighting arrangement, where I'm not really using my rear sight in a really precise way. I'm kind of referencing my front sight in alignment with the rear sight. So as soon as I see that I have my front sight here and my rear sight is here, that's a good enough alignment for me, and I go ahead and take that shot. I don't need to spend a whole lot of time really staring down my sights and getting that hard front sight focus to confirm that everything is precisely aligned. I just need, again, a good enough aiming solution for the target that I am seeing in front of me. And when I see that my front sight and rear sight are generally aligned with each other, I will float the dot and I will take that shot and I will get my hit. Now, if I need 25, 30 yards on the same silhouette target, now I may require a slightly better alignment of the front sight in reference to the rear sight. So now I'm going to use one of two sighting techniques. I'm either going to use a hard front sight focus to verify that my front sight is precisely aligned with both my target and precisely aligned with my rear sight at the same time before I go ahead and press that trigger out. Or I may use a target focus depending on the difficulty of the target. Personally, as the shots get more difficult and farther away, I do have more success with a target focus than a front sight focus, because a target focus enables me to see a little bit more of my target in reference to that front sight. So it just gives me a little bit finer alignment for very, very, very precise aiming requirements. So different sighting techniques, different sighting alignments are, going to apply depending on the difficulty of the shot and the type of handgun that I'm using. On the a similar subject related more to the long gun side, we have other different types of sighting arrangements that I want to spend some time on tonight. And we'll talk about red dots on handguns more so a different time. But tonight, I want to talk a little bit about your red dot sights, your LED style with closed emitters. I also want to talk a little bit about your holographic sights, right, with a window where we're projecting a reticle onto that lens, and what does that do for us? I want to talk a little bit about your etched reticles, your TA33 ACOG, the 3-power fixed scope, and I want to talk a little bit about the low power variable optics as well and what those can do for us. And then here we've just got a regular traditional, this is a shotgun style scope, 2.5 up to 8 power with a BDC reticle for ranging. Before I get into those, I do want to kick it over to Tyler and see if we had any more questions rolling. Ty, we got any more questions?
Yeah, we got some questions. Let's do some
Well, let's
questions.
take a quick break and get some in there.
Let's go over some of the Turkish shotguns and all about that. That was one of the first questions we had. A little bit more info on
These the Dickinsons.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton of experience with these, and Josh is actually sneaking by. I don't know if he wants to go on camera, but Josh, what can you tell us about these Dickinsons, these shotguns?
I mean, for the price and
$350.
yeah, I mean, for what's out there right now, it's probably the best.
Seems pretty
thing
solidly
that
built. You know what I mean? Like some of these Turkish guns, you
can make
feel,
in
and they're
Turkey, just like a lot of other shotguns.
right. Yeah, they've been making guns over in Turkey since longer than we've been a country. So
Yeah.
they, they know what they're doing. Well, I don't know. What do you think, Pat?
So to me,
Obviously, if I could, I would take a Mossberg 500, but I can't.
Right.
They don't exist right now. So
when I look at this gun, it looks to me exactly like the Hawk.
sure,
Right? The Hawk
yeah.
industry
Yep.
is like the Chinese shotgun, which is basically just an 870 clone, right? So all this to me is it's an 870 clone that was made in Turkey. Now, unlike Remington, these guys are using aluminum receivers. Typically, an 870 has a steel receiver, whereas the Mossbergs and some of the other guns are going to have aluminum. So it's a little bit lighter weight than an 870, right? But ultimately, as far as workmanship and stuff like that, I mean, it's still a very, very solid shotgun. And shotguns being what they are, guys, they're so simple, right? There's so few moving parts. We're not worried about headspace here. We're not worried about cold hammer forging,
Precision.
barrel, right, and rifling and all that good stuff. So what you're getting here is basically, I mean, you can make a shotgun with pipes from Home Depot,
slam
right?
fire,
Realistically. So what we're asking this gun to do, very, very solidly made guns. And as Brandon indicated, Turkey's been doing it for a long, long time. Think Stoger, right?
Sure.
And some of the other companies that are out there. Stevens has been making guns in Turkey in the past. So, it's just kind of like some of the others that are out there, guys. It's a budget-minded gun, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a lower price point and a few less bells and whistles here.
Sure. Yeah.
So just really simple, plain Jane finish, synthetic, inexpensive furniture.
Crossbolt safety.
Crossbolt safety, right? But if I'm looking for a gun to just take out into the woods, or a gun that's going to be out in the barn, if I need, some kind of pest control or whatever, something like that is, a can't miss. So
quickly, Slam Fighter Home Depot shop next week's live stream topic.
Yeah.
I'm not going live with that, but if you guys want to have a conversation with me about that, we can get into it.
Zuck just pulled our stream right now.
Yeah, we won't do it live, but hit me on my cell phone.
Do not buy these pipes with this diameter.
Whatever you do, don't go to Home Depot with this shopping list.
Oh, man.
Because I'll go to jail.
I got another one.
Yeah.
Another one. And it's store related, so we're on the topic. Reloading. This is a great question. Do we stock reloading equipment?
Oh, man. We get asked this all the time, and we did in the past. I'm looking at some very, very low stock of RCBS, all the oddball stuff. Reloading is one of those things. Like, we've got roughly a 3,000 or 2,000 square foot retail store. To do it right, you almost have to dedicate that full amount of space to reloading, and just, you just have to dive all in and carry everything, or just get out of it. And unfortunately, we really tried to get into it, and we had a lot of stuff. And I hate to say, like a lot of hobbies, reloaders are always looking for a good deal and a bargain. And nowadays that means buying online,
right?
And a lot of that stuff, it's so specialized. We could have 10,000 SKUs of reloading, but you're looking for the one thing I don't have.
Yep.
Now you're buying it online anyways. And it's just so hard. When we opened, I really wanted, because as a lot of people will say, there's really not a good, and I know somebody mentioned it in the comments, I hate to send people somewhere else. Runnings actually carries, especially for the size of their store, they carry a lot of reloading stuff.
Right.
I've always been very impressed by their reloading. Of course, they're a bigger store, so they can do that. But for them to choose to dedicate that much retail space, towards reloading, it's pretty impressive. So I know sending people to other places, but you're looking for reloading stuff, I'd go to Runnings, or buy it online. And I wish we could support it. It was the same with the brass. We thought, you remember, Ty, that's how you started here, sorting brass. Like, I used to make that boy sort, by caliber, like put in bags, 109 mils and 145s and 102.23s. And we used to have them out there for sale for years for people to buy the once fired brass to reload. They just never did. We scrapped it at Metallico. People ask us all the time, like, what do we do with the brass? And that's what we do with it. We take it down to Metallico and they recycle it. There is certainly, if you want to buy the brass to reload, we allow you to do that. You can come down and sit over in the waiting area and watch TV and do it. Or we also let you buy a full bucket, take it home, and then return like the scrapyard. Yeah, we'll buy it back for the same price, return what you don't need. But there you go. So reloading, not really. Sorry.
Cool. I just had a little discussion. We're always, whenever Brandon and I are hanging out, had a couple bourbons, we're always talking business. So talking about reloading and stuff, I had a little business idea I kind of want to just think about. Well, if there were a store, I guess, with individual rooms just full of reloading equipment, come in, pay a fee, all the reloading equipment's there, and you reload your own ammo.
Oh man. I'm sure if you did that in what's that, the Khyber Pass or whatever, where they're just cobbling together guns in caves, sure, I would do it there. I would love to see what the insurance adjuster says for that. Yeah, the trouble, and that is on the surface of it, that does sound like a good idea. Reloading, though, I mean,
so meticulous.
We know the guys, Ty, that come in here. We've seen them, and I'm not picking on them in any way because it matters. Every little variable. I mean, we know guys that only reload during certain times of the day because the light comes into their reloading area, and they want to be able to see their levels perfectly. You know what I mean? There are guys. I remember there was, and I am kind of shitting on him a little bit, I'll admit, but there's a guy I know that comes in, and he does calculations and has standardized weights to make sure that his stuff is within tolerances before he weighs things out. And there's a lot of engineering, and we were talking about this before in regards to the CMP stuff. Sometimes shooting the gun is almost secondary, but that's almost like that's not even the important part, and it's everything leading up to it. It's a lot like the guys that fix up a car, and as soon as the car's fixed up, they don't care about it anymore. They want to go to the
Right.
It's the art of doing the reloading that a lot of people get
It's the
into.
development and
It's not me.
all
It's
the
not me.
meticulous.
Yeah. So maybe you can start. You can sign that lease, Ty. That can be your business. I'll be a very silent partner on that one.
Okay. Very silent.
Very silent. but-
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get back into some site stuff, and you keep curating some questions for us to go over some more. So Brandon, why don't you hang out with me for a
Sure.
minute, and let's talk a little bit about some of these sites.
Sure.
Right? So with our red dot site, right?
Mhm.
Closed emitter, fixed one power, right? This particular one has I think the Romeo 4. It's not a 4-minute dot, right? That's too precise. It's got to be like a 2-minute dot in there. I think this is a
It's gotta be a
2-minute
nice
of
little
angle
crisp.
dot. Yeah, it's a
Probably.
very nice, crisp little dot.
Oh yeah.
And that thing is set up for looks like an absolute co-witness. So your sights are going to go right through that window, and you're going to be able to look, right through that same window, whether the dot is working or whether it's not. You're going to be able to use your iron sights or use the red dot interchangeably, kind of deal.
Nice.
So these sights are very, very nice. The SIG ones in particular are, pretty durable. The adjustments are easy to locate. They have cool little knobs that you can actually use to turn your windage and elevation adjustments. The mounting solutions are really simple and straightforward to use. And these are very, very nice sights. So I like the SIGs quite a lot, and they have pretty good glass relative to a Chinese made
and they
optic, right?
not that it really matters, but they look good too. Sometimes that matters. Not all of us are looking for the duty gun with the highest. I mean, not that they're not reliable, but
Right.
They got to look cool too for a lot of people. And
So the aesthetics are
SIG
going to
does have a
matter,
good
yeah.
aesthetic, yeah.
Yeah, no, the aesthetics are
But
going to matter.
they
to a
perform well
certain amount of
too.
guys.
Shouldn't like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my experience with these has been pretty favorable. I've actually, as you know, I've been up to SIG Academy a whole bunch of different times. And one of the times I was up there, they were just kind of starting to get into some of the electro-optics. And it was pretty neat because I got to try out, it wasn't this specific one, it was the one with the solar panel
Okay,
up on the top,
yeah.
where it's like
That's pretty
dual
cool.
illuminated. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So, funny story. I was talking to one of the instructors for the patrol rifle course, and I was like, "Hey, do you know if I was to take and cover this up with some tape, would that help me to dim my reticle a little bit, like it would with an ACOG?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, I don't think that optic works that way." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So then I went back to my position. I was proned out behind my rifle, and I just happened to take my. I don't know if he's correct or if he isn't, so
Never
I'm
know.
just going to give it a try. So I put my hand over the top, and don't you know, my reticle brightness was turned down a considerable
Really?
amount.
Yeah. So it does.
So it is like dual illuminated,
That's
like an
pretty
ACOG.
cool.
Electrical tape from my gear that I had, and I was like, all right, so I'll just put a little strip over the top. And then I happened to go back over later, and I was like, hey Todd, just so you know, this optic. And they were just kind of getting into it, right? They didn't know everything about the optics and the tech specs and all of that stuff. So they weren't, completely aware of some of the capabilities before they were because they're just testing the stuff out. Right. Yeah. So I've actually gotten to see some of this stuff throughout the progression that it's gone through. And yeah, their optic line is pretty impressive. They have some pretty interesting stuff. Nice. I like their variable power stuff too. The whiskey.
Yeah, that's some pretty cool stuff. They really came out of the gate with a complete lineup. They're a complete systems provider, and that's what they're
right. So that's really that's their big push. And I think it's a good idea to get if you're going to offer the Army or the military, the Department of Defense, you're going to offer them a system, a weapon system. You don't want them to have to go somewhere else source of sight, right? You want to be that complete system. So you guys are looking for a new machine gun, that 338 Norma that they have.
We got
right.
you.
We're not just going to kick you out of machine gun, right? We're going to kick you out of machine gun. Along with that machine gun, we're going to incorporate an optic, and now you have a complete system that you can go out there and fight wars. So that's good stuff. So
sorry,
no,
there's something that I've had people ask me, and it's really hard to say, but like, where would you place SIG? You know, obviously it's not Night Force. It's not trying to compete against like Trigicon per se, but
right.
maybe where would you put them? I know this is going to open up a whole can of worms. Everybody's got their opinions, but you know, where would you put them in regards to maybe like Bushnell?
So I would say that's really tough.
I know that's tough.
I would say that these are probably slightly on the higher end side than a Bushnell, like the TRS-25 or the 26s.
Sure.
Right? Now that being said, no kidding, I've had 4 Bushnell TRS-25s.
Yeah.
So there's something about that optic that just works really well.
Yeah.
It's $100
Super
or
small,
whatever.
yeah.
Very, very small, relatively durable. I've yet to break one. I've yet to have one that the adjustments didn't track. I haven't seen one like fog up.
It does seem
dropped guns with them off
5% nicer, maybe, you know.
Right.
It's one of those things that's
just a little bit higher end.
Can't say what about it, but
right. Yeah. So I would say, like, if you were to ask me, is this like a serious use optic? I would say this is as far down the ladder that I'm willing to go.
Sure.
This would be as far down the ladder as I would ever be willing to go and still call it a serious use optic. Sure. I've never used a TRS-25 as like, this is my main optic. This one is my girl.
I agree. Right? That just falls off the ladder a little bit for me.
I can't do it, right? Because I
know
what
it
is. Right. Yeah. I know what it is, and I know what happens if that optic doesn't work. So to me, that's like really this would be like the absolute lowest that I'm going to go down that scale, right? And I would say that primary arms is like right there, neck and neck with this one here, and then the next rung up that ladder is going to be like the Holosuns, and then from there you start to get into some more of the like serious stuff, right? But I would say that this is like right there with primary arms and probably somewhere in the same ballpark as like your Holosun.
Nice. Our producer Ty, I think, has something to interject.
I'm getting some questions, including from a very dear friend of mine, Nate. Holosuns. Can we talk a little bit? We don't have any up there, but his question specifically was, how would you compare the EOTech to the Holosun? And
like the 510C or the 512s?
Yeah.
So I would say, honestly, as somebody who has used both, and I've used EOTech sights in combat situations like actual gunfights, and I've used Holosun optics at places like SIG Academy where really demanding round counts and guns are getting hot, guns are getting dropped, stuff is getting banged around, and we're just putting the optic to really good use, right? I would say that Holosun is equal to EOTech in terms of like durability and build quality. And as far as like the ruggedness of the electronics and all of that stuff, I would say that they are right there with EOTech, but they're just so far below them in terms of price point. I think Holosun represents probably the best value right now if you're just looking at what you're getting versus what you're spending. And I say that too because as Vortex has continued to make more heavy duty or duty use or like serious use type optics, some of their red dots have gotten a lot more expensive. Right? Like their UH1 optic is now in the same price category as your aim points and your EOTechs and stuff like that. So Vortex used to be like one of those best value for the money kind of optics. And now some of their stuff has even kind of, gotten into some of the higher end.
Yeah, it absolutely has.
So I would say that Holosun is like, right now is the time to buy Holosuns because they're only going to get better and they're only going to get more expensive.
Yeah, and a lot of these, I think, and I'm one of these people. I have a big hesitation to not run a top tier. If it's not a Trigicon, if it's not an aim point, if it's not an EOTech, right? Then, for me, it kind of falls down the ladder. You know what I mean? And it's just not. But these companies, they have so many things going for them, And really the only thing they don't have is their name and that like brand loyalty or like brand recognition. But yeah, objectively you look at them and they're just as rugged. They're just as nice. And Vortex, yeah, like you said, I saw a Razor, their newest one, like the Razor 3 or whatever, Razor 4. What was the one your buddy had, Josh? The
one with 10, is that the one you're talking about?
Right, but it looked just as nice as the Night Force we saw in there. Maybe the Night Force is a little nicer, but
to 24.
you know, if it's good enough to actually pass those military standard, you know, like that Vortex is a standard issue optic. I'm not sure for exactly who you might know, but like the U.S. military is buying Vortex optics.
There are SF groups right now that are running Vortex optics all over the world in combat operations.
It's probably just because they have a lifetime warranty, right? So they can just return it.
Yeah, just
breaks.
like Taurus.
That's right.
Yeah.
They switched over to the Taurus.
Because, you know, in Trash Canistan, that's what's really important is that warranty.
Just like Taurus. Yeah.
I really liked when the Army was picking their new the 320, right?
Right.
And like I don't know if it was the Army Chief of Staff or like I don't know who it was, but there was a quote out there. He's like, "Well, I'm just going to run down to Cabela's with the Army credit card. We're just going to go with Glocks." Like, it's like, well, okay, it's not quite that simple, but yeah, it was pretty funny. Like, nice.
See you guys.
See you, Josh. They were here. Sorry, they were here tonight. We had a pretty cool and another really good reason to be a part of that TFP Discord. I was kind of disappointed that unfortunately nobody was able to show up. I know it was super last minute, but Tony, a very good friend of ours who actually is our JRC Connect. A lot of you know Tony from Freedom Weekends.
Oh, that's that Tony.
That Tony,
I did not know that was that. Okay.
So he does CMP service rifle competition and excels at it. Has gone to Camp Perry the past several years. And he offered, once he saw Josh and Andrew and myself's success or, you know, how we did, you know, at the shoot, he was like, hey, I would love to do like a shooter's clinic with you and just show you the real basics of you know, you don't know what you don't know. So here's some of that stuff. And they've been here since 5 and they just left. Yeah. And they were talking to Pat. You're Pat. They weren't talking to you.
They were talking the whole time.
They were talking to Josh. Let me write down people's names. I'm getting old. But they were talking to some of our guys. But I put that opportunity out yesterday and today on the Discord. So just, you know, nobody was able to make it out here. But there are a lot of little insider opportunities that if you join that Discord, you're going to get access to.
And it's not for nothing, but I heard that some guys from the Discord have been invited to Polar Wave before.
That is true.
To do some shooting.
That is true.
So all of you people that are like popping up here and there, like, hey, what's up with Polar Wave? Hey, I want to go to Polar Wave. Get on the Discord, and that's one more way that you might get access out there.
Or like the guys, the first one of your pistol mechanics classes.
Right. We put that out in the Discord first, where it's like, hey, you guys have an exclusive opportunity because you have that access to us and what we're doing.
We needed guinea pigs and
and it was free. They came out and all they had to do was, you know, bring a handgun, bring some ammo, let me try some stuff out on you and give me some honest feedback so we can make sure that we're doing this stuff, you know, correctly. Yeah. So anytime that we're trying new stuff, we want to try it on you.
This next optic you've got here.
This Trigicon here.
There's no battery. There's no how work. How does that work?
So this one here is a Trigicon reflex sight, and it is radioactive. Yeah. Scary stuff, right? So yeah, there's actually some tritium in here, radioactive isotope.
Fiber optic in the front.
And it's got the fiber optic in the front, so it's gathering light through there. So this is a dual illuminated optic as well. This one is it's made by Trigicon, and it's their reflex sight. I think it's pretty neat, but I have some issues with this sight. One of which being because this is old technology. Now understand how old are these reflex sights be? Like
probably
this is like 15,
probably even older than that. Yeah, that's a pretty early. This is one of their earlier designs.
Right. Yeah. So this is an older optic here, and you guys can see that it's got a really small little objective lens there. So when I'm looking through that objective lens, there's not a whole lot of information being transmitted through that lens. So if I'm up here, I've got a lot of stuff that's obscured by the housing of the sight. Also, it's very, very blue.
Yes.
And the adjustments on these Trigicon optics, one of the things about the Trigicon optics that gives me like just fits relative to the price of these things is the adjustments are like a minute of angle. Excuse me.
Yeah, they're pretty rough.
Generally, very, very general. Like every time you move the sight adjustment, you're moving your point of aim an inch, one direction or the other at 100 yards. So to me, just the level of precision available from a user standpoint,
when
I'm using these sites isn't what I would expect for the price point. Right?
Yeah, that's that's a $500-ish, I want to say, maybe even a touch more.
Even now, if you're going to buy one of these used, it's still going to cost several $100.
Right. And you got to worry about the tritium needing to be
whether or not it's
Yeah.
still viable.
It's a very, I don't know if you can get them in different widths. That's a very wide MOA.
Right. That's
definitely like maybe like a 3-gun type of thing,
or maybe it's less. But
you don't have to worry about precision as much.
Right.
But yeah, that's why we have a lot of these. These are, it's hard to say like rental optics, but they're kind of just optics that we've had that we keep kicking around that we don't want to sell because,
it's nice to be able to show somebody.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that have never seen a reflex or used one. Like, well, go throw it on your AR and see what you can do with it. Have fun with it. Yeah. What do you got next? What's that guy?
So this is an EOTech. This is one of the only. In fact, it might be the only true holographic sight. I think EOTech has like specific rights to that. And so what's happening with this holographic sight is there's actually a optic that's being projected onto the screen by an emitter inside of the optic. So the screen here is it's clear glass and the reticle is really grainy in there because it's just a series of pixels that are being projected onto the glass by the emitter. So one of the knocks on these back in the day was they were really temperature sensitive. They would get hot and the adjustments would start to get erratic. And obviously, when you're operating in like desert environments and stuff like that, that's going to be an issue no matter what.
Right.
But now you're putting them on top of guns that also get very, very hot when you're firing them, particularly at high rates.
Sure.
Right. We had a lot of these on machine guns and stuff that.
I can imagine.
So, and they fixed a lot of that stuff and things have gotten obviously better over time. I've been out of the military a long time. So these optics have come, a long way. And another knock on these back in the day was battery life wasn't the best.
Sure.
But as far as like rugged and durable, they do have this exterior housing over the top. So I could literally, I could just drop this and drop it and drop it. And the likelihood that it's actually going to get damaged or broken is relatively low. Right. So very, very durable optic. And yeah, something like this aim point, this is another great example of a red dot. This is like just a regular red dot LED style sight.
Which one's that? The
Pro.
The Pro.
Patrol rifle optic. So this is kind of like a copy of our M68 CQB optic, close quarters optics that we used to use back in the day. Or CCO, I'm sorry, close combat optics.
Speaking of battery life. Aim point. If you're looking for battery life, aim point,
you can leave that thing on forever.
I think like one AAA, it's good for literally like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Like most guys change them out yearly or whatever, but
you can literally just turn that thing on, throw that gun in the rifle rack.
We have noticed that the EOTechs now, of course, here on the range, it always seems like people leave them on, and not only do they leave them on, they leave them on the highest setting, right? And now the EOTech, it's supposed to have an auto shut off. I believe there's 2 different buttons to turn it on. One, if you turn it on, it'll stay on for 4 hours. One will turn off for 8 hours.
Right.
So in theory, they should be turning themselves off. So they shouldn't be just blaring all the time when they're sitting on the range. But we've noticed the EOTechs, we do go through batteries they're battery hogs. That's one of the downsides of the EOTech. There's a lot, like when you look through them, that classic, like their logo, right? They're projecting that entire thing. Versus a lot of these, it's just a singular dot.
Right.
I have to imagine that eats up more battery than a single dot.
Now, the cool thing about the donut of death, that's what we call that 65-minute of angle optic. The cool thing about that donut of death is that it's a good measuring.
Sure.
Right. In terms of like ranging.
Yep.
So I know that roughly if I'm at 200 yards and I place that 65-minute of angle donut of death and Brandon's feet are down in the bottom edge and Brandon's like face or, somewhere in there is somewhere near the top edge, you're roughly 200 yards away, right? Because a human being is somewhere in the 65, 70-ish inch range, right? So if you're standing tall in that, that would put you at like 100 yards.
Sure. Yeah.
If you were like halfway in the optic, then you're going to be like 200 yards away, right? Yeah. And I can kind of use that as a measuring tool to get some general idea of where you're at.
Sniper Dan would be like 467 and a half.
Oh man, his range of estimation is unbelievable. I can't believe how good that kid is. It's like his eyes can actually measure the distance.
Seriously, yeah.
He's
got a built-in rangefinder.
So here's another Trijicon optic. All right, and this is the ACOG, the Advanced Combat Optical Gun Sight. I've used these for a number of years on a couple of different setups. Everything from a SAW to an M4 and an M16A4. And I've really liked my time behind the Advanced Combat Optical Gun Sight. Super clear glass. This one is the TA33, so it's the 3-power variant. The ones that we were issued in the Army were the 4-power variant. So those are really great optics as well. Dual illuminated, so we do have some tritium going on in the reticle, and then I have the fiber optics here. If I go ahead and cover that fiber optic up, I can actually dim the reticle down quite a bit. So if I'm in, some lighting condition that's not favorable to having a really bright optic, I can go ahead and put some tape there, and I can kind of dim that thing down a little bit. And if I'm really smart and I just put a strip of electrical tape here, I can just kind of peel it back a little bit, and then I can kind of adjust the brightness of the optic.
You can definitely get those things too bright, and they're, if it was the middle of the day, we went outside, like, for sure. And I can only imagine, like, in the desert or whatever, where there's a ton of light.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems that you can have if the reticle is too bright, because for some guys' eyes, it just throws a little bit of a halo around the optic, so it can actually occlude what it is that you're trying to look at out beyond the optical.
I love the ACOG myself. I know Tyler does. Looks like he's got a message for us, but
we're not live on Facebook anymore. Yeah, Facebook is frozen. It just came back.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. We've been live on YouTube, but
weird technical issues. We were having issues earlier with our our credit card machines.
Connections and stuff like that. Well,
Facebook just ended its live video.
That's no good.
We're still good on YouTube.
Well, hey, YouTube, all 2 people. I don't know.
Well, can you get us back to the live on Facebook?
It ended. It's not going to start up again. But I can just start a new live video.
We might just have to start a new. What the heck, man? That's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, it just kind of froze.
And no donuts are even here yet, so it's like, what the hell?
I've been looking for the donuts.
Yeah, I'm watching out the window. I was told that there was going to be donuts.
I have been.
Where are the donuts? When are the donuts going to get here? Why aren't the donuts here now? And so on.
Wow, cool.
So how was the video?
Live again.
Are we live again?
We just started it back up. New video.
We're live again.
New
video. Sorry for the interruption there, guys. Hopefully some of y'all are still with us. So real quick, I'm just going to kind of circle back a little bit to where I was at when Tyler let us know that we had an interruption. And we'll talk about the TA33 again. So the TA33, 3-power optic here, with both tritium isotopes in the reticle for illumination, as well as fiber optic backup. So if I want to dim the reticle down a little bit, I can just cover up some of that fiber optic to gather a little bit less light, and that will dim the optic down. And if I want the optic to be a little bit brighter, I can just go ahead and uncover that. And now all of that light from this fiber optic is going right into the optic, and it's helping to illuminate that tritium reticle even a little bit more. And we have the same kind of technology going on here in our AccuPoint 1 to 4. So we have this is an etched reticle in here, Brandon, right? With the stadia line going vertically.
This is like a I guess you call it like a German post.
Yeah, the German post. Yeah. So that is etched into the glass, right? And then the tritium isotopes are there glowing in conjunction with the fiber optics as well, right? So we can actually dim this one down, again, by covering up some of those fiber optics. And this has a really precise reticle, you know, with the
Really is nice.
with that triangle where it just goes right up to that really fine point, and there's nothing else there to kind of cloud my visual
really
field
nice
and stuff like that.
like hunting
Yeah.
style. You know, and maybe not as good of a marksman because it doesn't have any like mill dots or any type of
For ranging capabilities
right.
and different things of that nature.
Super clear, like you said, though, super clear and not busy.
Not busy,
Yeah.
very clear. It's not overly heavy.
Mhm.
And because of the tritium and the fiber optics, you don't have to worry about battery life and stuff of that
Right.
nature, right? So we're always going to have illumination there.
30 mil tube as well. That's in so much
Lot
light
of light.
versus the 1 inch. You know, when they come down to that, like
Also, we have a lot of room for adjustment in that 30
Oh, yeah.
MOA tube as well,
Yep.
right? So, we'll get into the difference between like a 1-inch tube here and a 30 mil tube in a second. But I also want to hit a little bit on this shotgun type optic here, right? So with the shotgun kind of optics, you know, generally speaking, we're going to be doing a lot more shooting. We typically associate that with close range,
Sure.
right? So I don't want something on the low end where I'm going to have to close my eye and really kind of, you know, get sucked into that scope.
right.
Instead, what I want is something that's going to have a generous kind of eye box. If I can find the eye box here somewhere. Yeah, so this scope's eye box is actually weird because I'm way outside of the
Yeah, it's
scope.
almost like a pistol scope.
Right, yeah,
At
this
that
is like a really long eye relief kind of scope. So, and
But it is a shotgun scope.
it is definitely a shotgun scope.
Yeah.
So, but really long eye relief on that guy. And it does have the BDC reticle. So the BDC is ballistic drop compensating. And what that does is it enables me to hold at different points on the reticle tree, and it kind of gives me a general idea. And we do need to verify
Sure.
that, you know, those are going to match up to whatever load that we're using. So it's important when we're experimenting with that stuff, guys, that we're verifying that the hash marks in our scope do actually correspond with the type of shot that we intend to take. Do you agree with that, Ben?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And there's a lot of things, you know, like you can have a super high-end scope, but you take your Night Force scope and you put it on a shotgun, and it could kill it. It could beat it up because it's just not made for it.
Right.
I've actually heard the same thing with like airsoft and BB guns.
Oh,
Guys-
air guns are bad.
Guys
yeah.
have taken like $1,200 ACOGs and put them on, you know, their kid's pellet gun just for fun, and it completely destroys it because it's not made for that type of use.
The scope is actually subject to so much more recoil force on an air gun. And
Crazy.
somebody tried to like explain it to me one
Yeah.
time about the specifics of why the scope tube like flexes so much more.
Yeah.
But it really does, like something about the way that air guns work with the pneumatics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're actually putting a lot more stress and strain. And that's why BSA, believe it or not, of all the people that are making scopes, BSA actually makes some of the best air gun
For air
scopes
guns, sure.
specifically. So
Yeah.
not that they make the best optics out there, but if you're looking for something that will stand up to repeated use on your air gun, then BSA actually might have what you're looking for. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Scopes, again, we could do weeks worth of live streams just talking about scopes. There's so much in their worldview, you know, that just, again, it's almost like reloading or any of these topics. There's so much to it. And, you know, let us know, what's your favorite kind of scope? Why do you like it? What do you use it for? Let us know. We always love learning about new stuff. There are a lot of different scopes out there, and we try to keep adding. Like I said, it's tough. Almost all these at one point were on one of my rifles or just something I like to tinker. I like to put this one on something and
sure.
take it off. And it's, like I said, it's hard for me to try to sell these because, you know, this is probably a $700, $800, $900 Trigicon, you
Right.
know, that I would have gotten used on a gun. And, you know, a lot of people don't have the money to just drop something like that. If they haven't seen one before or checked one out, it's
Right.
really hard. So,
And especially on something used where, you know, obviously, you know, we here at the Firing Pin are known for our great customer service. I think everybody would agree with that. So obviously if there were some sort of an issue, you know, somebody bought a scope like this, obviously you're going to take care of them on the backside if there was some sort of an issue. But there is that like trust issue of like, do I really want to lay out that kind of money on something that
Right.
somebody else has already, used on a gun, and what if the adjustments don't track or something like that? Like,
you
I'd be
never
out
know.
all that money potentially.
You never know.
Yeah, there's but let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned some terminological stuff in there that I just wanted to hit on real quick. So 30 millimeter tube as opposed to a 25 millimeter tube.
Sure.
So, or 1 inch tube. I'm sorry,
Sure.
we're in the United States of America. We don't talk that metric stuff here. So, but with our 1 inch tubes, there's going to be a lot less room for that reticle to travel, right? When we're talking about windage adjustments and elevation adjustments. So here I'm going to unscrew my caps too, and I'm looking at 1/4 inch clicks at 100 yards. So about 1/4 minute of angle.
Yep, same here, 1/4 inch. And like you said, Trijicon, this is a little bit more of a precision scope for them.
Right.
But I mean, they make, I'm trying to think of maybe the AccuPower. They make some high-end precision with 1/8 inch clicks, or even they might even make stuff with MOA clicks. I'm not sure. But yeah, they're a little bit, 1/4 inch is a standard, I guess. 1/8 inch is better, but
yeah, I would prefer to have an 1/8 inch, especially when you're paying that sort of money.
Right.
Like if you're going to pay Trijicon money, ideally I'm going to have adjustments that are really precise. Now
they
those
do
are gonna
have
be
the
really
nice
precise clicks, though, right?
Yes, and I was going to say, I'm sure what this will bring is very repeatable clicks as well.
Right.
And a good test that you can run. And if you've never done this, I highly encourage you to do it. Jeremiah actually taught me about this. I had never heard about this before, but Jeremiah, a good friend of the stores. So you get your scope all zeroed in, and this one, you can actually pull this adjustment knob up and reset it, right? So you get your scope, you take it out of the box, you take it out to the range, and you go to zero it, right? You got to make a bunch of adjustments. You make a bunch of adjustments. Well, now you're all the way over here at, 9, right? You can pull this ring out, and the ring is free to rotate, and I'm not actually making any adjustments. I can reset it to 0, right, on the adjustment ring. And now, like in the movies, when you see the spotter saying, left 3 clicks, you can go left 3 clicks.
And you can visually see
it and feel it. It's very tactile. It's very nice. And then when you are done, once you've made that, you've taken your shot, you want to return it to 0. And a scope like this, I would bet that it would be very repeatable. If I go 3 clicks left, I come back 3 clicks right, I'm right back where I was.
Sure.
But you can easily test this, and you can test this here at our range. Obviously, if you have a 100-yard range, it's a little bit better at this. But you can, hit your point of impact, have it zeroed, really doesn't matter where, and then go right 10 clicks. Or 15 clicks. It really doesn't matter, again, but just stay consistent.
If you're looking at a target, you could also go, I have a 4-inch target. I'm going to go the precise number of clicks that corresponds with that width of my target so I can shoot the box and hit all of those.
We have some grid square targets,
Mm-hmm.
So you go right 10 clicks, we'll say right, and you shoot another group. You go down 10 clicks. You go left 10 clicks, and then you go back up right. So you make a box, and if that last sequence is right back where you started, you've got a nice scope. And those have very repeatable clicks where if you go 5 clicks this way, 20 clicks that way, and then you go back to 0,
it's going to be the same click value
back to 0. Yeah. So that's one way to tell, that you have a higher end scope versus, again, nothing wrong with this one. This one's a Nikon. Great scope. They don't make Nikon scopes anymore, unfortunately. I was really sad when we got that phone call. But it is what it is. So, like Pat said, really the biggest difference you're going to notice besides those adjustments right off the bat is the light coming through. With a 30 mil tube. I mean, it's going to be hard to see on camera, but that tube is just beefy, and that just keeps all that light coming in and going right to your eye. And it makes a huge difference, especially this is more of a hunting scope,
right?
And you're going to hunt at dawn and dusk, right?
Sure.
So you're going to need all the light you can get.
Conditions, absolutely.
Yep.
So yeah, hopefully hopefully we've answered some of your guys' questions as it pertains to different scope setups, different optical setups. As far as like our own individual preferences, it's going to vary a little bit from one gun to another. So as you know, I
what do you run? What do you got?
Well, right now I'm running a couple of Holosuns. Actually, on my wife April's gun, we have a 510C.
Nice.
It's the Elite green reticle and the titanium housing. Ooh. And I took that thing to SIG Academy, and it was last May when I went, and everybody was going nuts about that optic. Everybody thought it was so cool.
Nice.
Actually, the gun that I was running back then, everybody thought the gun was like super cool. I don't have it anymore because I've ripped it apart and reconfigured a whole bunch of stuff.
It,
yeah, but So that optic and that gun were both very, very popular. And I also have a Holosun 403C.
Nice.
And yeah, that one's just, it's more like this type of guy here where, you got your brightness adjustments here. And it's solar power.
I was going to say the C. That's what the C stands for.
The C is solar. Yeah. So actually, I'm sorry. The brightness adjustments are down here because the solar panel's on the top. But it took me a little bit of time to play with that thing and figure out what was going on there. It's set to auto.
Sure.
So when you get it, the reticle is controlled strictly by the light coming into the solar panel on the top. So then you hold on the plus button on the side, and when you do that, the reticle will turn off quick, and then it will turn back on. And now you're on manual.
Oh,
now
cool.
you can adjust your settings however
cool.
you want it to tailor it to the lighting conditions. So once I figured that out, I was much happier with the optic because then it wouldn't be too dark in some conditions and too bright the rest of the time.
Yeah.
The next thing I think I'm going to be looking at is probably Loophole actually makes a 1.25 to 4 power scope. And I think they call it like their Patrol something. There's like the Loophole Freedom.
They got a whole series of them.
Yeah. And so the one that I'm specifically looking at, it's like 1.25 to 4 power. It comes with their Firefly illuminated reticle.
Very cool.
On Amazon, it's only like $285 or something like that. So
I know the guys on In Range TV on YouTube, Carl and Ian, they've been doing a series on American-made products. Just because, again, not to be against any other country, but yeah, supply chain. Purely from a logistical standpoint, it'd be nice. The U.S. military does this. If you're going to sell stuff to the military, it's got to be made here in the country.
Has to be very compliant, yeah.
So those I don't know if it's exactly the one you're talking about, but I know a lot of those Loophole optics specifically are made in the USA. Well, of course, with global materials, everything's made across the world nowadays, but still pretty cool that they can offer a competitively priced, item. Obviously, Loophole's not going to be cheap, but it's still competitive with whatever, with what other people have.
I think they're like $3 or so, and with an illuminated reticle in a 1 to 4 power scope, that's a gold ring Loophole.
Sure.
I mean, it'd be really hard for me to say that it would be a bad investment.
Yeah.
And I don't need a lot of magnification on a 10.5-inch gun because I don't do a ton of shooting out at distance. Sure. One thing that I did notice, it would have been nice to be able to dial that reticle up to, or that magnification up to 4 power on some of those more challenging targets, even though I don't need, to do I'm not doing anything out past, say, 300 yards or so with that particular gun. But at 300 yards, it's nice for target identification if we can get a little
4 power does make a difference.
A little more magnification on it, right?
Ty, how we doing? We got questions? I know we had that live stream FUBAR situation there.
We're kind of hitting our 1.5 mark.
Sure.
Couple other questions, some questions I might write down for next live stream.
Sure.
We can do that too, absolutely.
Didn't we do that last time?
We did. That's how we got onto this whole entire topic.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Joe commented too. I saw on the previous live stream comment section that he missed like 3/4. He's got to go back and watch it. Like he asked the question and then he was doing something and then he logged on.
You're talking about Joe Terzo?
Yeah. He missed like half of it. I was, you'll watch it again.
Yeah, go rewatch it, Joe. We answered all your questions.
There you
go. So we're getting lots of opinions on this, opinions on that. Send us a Facebook message, or we'll probably go through the comments later on. And
I'd like to read through those a little bit, so I'll probably be checking in with you guys later on.
I don't know. Should we ask just one last little funny off-topic question?
Yeah, whatever you got. Dealer's choice. I can hang out for. I don't know if you got to get going. I can hang out for a few more minutes.
I'm not doing anything time sensitive.
Totally off topic. This is just fun.
Yeah, whatever you got, man.
Hit me.
I don't want to. I like it too much.
All right.
We all watch movies as kids, right? What is one kid movie that was way too scary for you?
Man, a kid movie that was way too. I guess it's not really a movie, but I was always freaked out by. I think it was. I can't remember who had it. Was Are You Afraid of the Dark? You remember that show?
Yes.
That show was scary. That show was scary. There's a few of those that I still Like there'll be like a situation. I'm like, why am I creeped out? Like what's some like, core memory am I remembering? It's something from like that show. Are you afraid of the dark? Yeah. I don't like scary movies. It's dark out now. Stop.
So, you guys ever seen the movie The House?
No.
So there's actually I think there were 2 of those movies. The first one was really scary. It's about this guy who's like an author, and he's also like a Vietnam veteran. So he inherits a house from like his aunt who hung herself in said house.
Scary.
And yeah, no, well, it's not an actual kids movie. I just happened to see it when I was a kid, and like at the time, I think I was like 4, or based on where we were living when I watched it. I think it was like 4 or 5 years old, and that shit really like creeped me out a little bit. But then The House 2 came out, and The House 2 had like George Wendt in it.
Okay,
and,
yeah.
like from Cheers, right?
Yeah.
And it had like a John Ratzenberger in it, and they were like, so like when you see George Wendt and John Ratzenberger together, like it's not a scary movie anymore. So
it's Cheers.
Yeah, exactly. I was just watching like scary Cheers.
Scary Cheers
with human sacrifice and a crystal skull.
Normal stuff.
Normal stuff.
I'm almost afraid to wonder what yours is, Tyler. But
No, mine is legit. Like I remember being like 5 years old and watching this, and it mortified me. The Black Cauldron. Disney's The Black Cauldron.
Oh, okay.
The animated one.
Yeah.
Bro, that like I couldn't watch. Like I remember that scaring me so bad as like a 4 and 5 year old. I was scared to watch it as like a 13-year-old. That movie scared me. Have you watched The Black Cauldron?
I have a child. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, make Ari watch The Black Cauldron.
We're still in like the Fantasia phase. She loves that kind of stuff. You know.
Ruined her.
Fantasia was legit.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Fantasia's great,
especially for like the era that was made.
Yeah,
like that kind of filmmaking like is just crazy to me.
Yeah, it's pretty rad movie.
What else we got? A couple final questions, maybe. I don't know.
I'll do 1 or 2 more, man.
Okay, let's talk about how's ammo going around here?
Man,
fast.
Yeah, so tough. We still get it in. We've got suppliers hooking us up. Right now, we've got to play that game of like you've got to buy crap that they can't move. Like we had to buy a bunch of number 7 and 8 like target shotgun loads the other day that nobody's shooting. Not that nobody's shooting it, but like we just don't need it.
Right.
But it was like, yeah, for every 2 cases of this that you buy, you can buy 1 case of 9s. It's like, all right, well, we'll buy your clearance stuff that nobody wants to buy, so we can buy the stuff that we do want to buy.
Yeah.
I don't want to get him in trouble, but luckily, a friend of ours recently got hired to work at a distributor, and he bumped us like way up on the list of his. So that was pretty cool. So he's been hooking us up, which is nice because that's the hardest part about this business. And
just having buying power to get
and having those connections. Obviously, like, and I don't know. I believe though that some of those factories were shut down. Some of the ammo factories for a little bit. I think they opened them back up again, but. Even before the shutdowns happened, they were operating at peak capacity. There's only so much that they can make. And these companies are first of all, you can't just like, oh, we'll just double 9mm production. You just can't do that.
Right.
They're incredibly expensive machines and operations to get going. So these companies are very hesitant. They've been in business a long time. And they don't take risks of like, oh, well, let's just double our operational capacity. Well, now that's going to ebb and flow like retail does. And then you're gonna have all this machinery and stuff you can't pay off, and workers, and it's just not. So it's one of those where it's a perfect storm right now of election year and Corona and the rioting and just uneasiness in general. I mean, as we've seen, we talked about this the couple live streams ago. Gun sales have just skyrocketed right now, and especially if you look at the trends, the past 5 years compared to the 5 years before that. Yeah, it's just astronomically growing. So we're getting it. We're getting ammo, but it flies, and like we said before, we're trying to save some for training because there's so many people that want to take training, but if they can't get the ammo, they can't train. We're trying to do best by everybody. So bear with us. We've got stuff coming, but it's a trickle. We got critters in here.
Yeah. All right, Ty, one more, buddy.
One
Do
more.
one more if you got it.
I got him. Look at that. Whoever
Good
on
job.
camera got him.
One
Hell
shot,
outta
one
here.
kill.
Attacking my store, attacking my employees.
Never mind.
Never mind.
Never mind. How do we donate to 2A NY?
Their website. I'm sorry, I don't have a link. Maybe we can add it to the
Comments
just
there,
comments there. Yeah, but I can go right on their website. 2A New York State. I don't know if it's 2A NY or 2A
2A
NYS. Yeah, is it not?
I got a link.
Or yeah, Tyler's gonna have a link.
Hold that up.
Yeah, Ty, work on that. So yeah, please, we really appreciate it. That money, literally 100% of that goes towards fighting unconstitutional laws, gun laws in New York. So that is just a group that we really stand behind. I mean, there are plaintiffs in the lawsuit against New York State, and we're really trying. And if we don't, unfortunately, we're rather pessimistic, and we know, like, we've already been shot down once. We're gonna keep getting shot down, but you never know. We were talking with Steve the other day, just the way that federal politics go and the Supreme Court. And, they shot down all 10 of those cases. They didn't want to hear any of them. But that's right now, and that's today. And maybe by the time our case gets there, maybe for whatever reason, they do want to hear this case. You just never know. And if you're not there ready, then you know what's going to happen. We're going to be in the same position we're in. So we had to try. We have to keep trying, and we will keep trying. If we're not successful in this angle, we're going to try another one.
You lose all
New
the
York's
fights that you're not in, right?
Exactly.
You're going to lose every fight that you're not in. So.
Exactly. So I guess with that, I don't know if we've got anything other final things. I don't know, Ty, if you want to end it, you got to pick somebody to win your your bag over there. But I'm done for the night, I guess. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Sorry about. Okay.
There's something big that just happened.
Oh, geez.
Got to talk about.
All right.
California.
All right. True. California. So a lot of people have been asking us about that decision, and unfortunately, we don't really know all the variables. It could turn out to be like, what was it, Freedom Week, they called it, like last year or the year before, where, it's okay, but then they pull the rug out from you again. Like, you just never know. It's got to be a good open spot in the armor, though. I think that there's a lot of people saying that this could help New York's, chances. Here's some precedent out in a very, another very liberal area of the country. It doesn't have any immediate effect on us. We're not in the 9th district, I believe it was. But
we're not in the 9th Circuit, but one of the things that people should keep in mind is that the current administration has appointed a lot of federal judges, right? So a lot of federal judge appointments have been pushed through that could help us win more fights like this. And this 9th Circuit decision is actually directly related to some of those court appointments that have been made within these past couple of years. So understand what's actually happening is that some of the federal courts are kind of turning more conservative leaning through all of these appointments, right? So some of those things are going to start to go in our favor potentially. And the 9th Circuit has been a court historically that a lot of the decisions have gone against what you and I would want to see happen as more conservative or liberty-minded type people, right? So understand that this might not have the immediate impact that we're looking for in terms of, okay, now California suddenly is a free state, and then tomorrow we wake up and New York is a free state as well. But the implications of it are that some of these courts are starting to kind of turn around, and you're not seeing as much legislating from the bench. Now you're seeing more original constitutionally guided decisions. Right? So if we get more originalist judges in federal courts, that's how we're going to keep winning these fights. So understand that voting in this election is going to really matter, because the next president of the United States is probably going to end up appointing at least one Supreme Court justice to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right? So we need that seat on the Supreme Court, because that's probably going to be what, potentially could get some of those 2A cases heard by the Supreme Court.
Yeah, it was very disappointing when they turned down all 10 of those cases.
Right.
Like, They didn't want to hear any of them.
So yeah, I think that we were all hoping that like Gorsuch was going to be more of like a constitutional originalist. Seems like he's more of like a don't rock the boat kind of guy. But so remains to be seen what's going to happen with the upcoming election. But the way that you guys vote in this election is going to determine who is on the Supreme Court next. So it sucks that the Supreme Court has become so powerful now that we have to start worrying about electing, candidates based on the idea that the judges that they're going to appoint are going to be deciding our future. But unfortunately, that's what has happened over time is the legislature has made themselves irrelevant. And because they keep allowing presidents to come in and take power away from the legislature with executive orders, and because a lot of the legislators are waiting for the courts to do their job for them and rule on some of these things instead of trying to change law. So, the court is going to become more important, I think, before it becomes less important.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Giveaway time.
Giveaway time.
There have been many people. There's a lot of runner-ups. Let's put it this way. My decision is totally based off of interaction and stuff. There's going to be a couple of you that I would probably hit up after just to make sure that we, you guys deserve it. You guys are runner-ups for sure. But the bag that I'm going to announce live right now is going to be for. Let me pull up his name. Ryan Thomas Alexander. This man has been active all night since the beginning of chat, since the beginning of the stream, and I appreciate you for that. I appreciate you for answering questions with us, talking with us throughout the show. So you're going to get the first and main prize. There's a couple of you that I have really, like I said, I've really been keeping my eyes on, and I appreciate you guys for being very active as well. That's it. So Ryan, come grab your stuff. I'll put your name on it, and it will be in the paid in full show.
Very cool.
Back on you guys, naturally.
Brandon, good job tonight.
Awesome job to you as well, Pat.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
And for all of you guys, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Sorry about the technical difficulty earlier. I'm glad we got it all resolved. And we look forward to seeing you guys back here next week. And we're going to start game planning based on some of the questions and stuff that didn't get answered. We're going to start game planning for next week's show as well. So if there's anything, I really enjoyed having somebody reach out to me and say, hey, can you guys talk a little bit about this topic? So any of you guys that are, on our Facebook pages as our Facebook friends or whatever, or if you're on the Discord and there's some stuff that you would like to see us talk about, then definitely let us know. And we'll, try to get some stuff out here specifically that you guys asked for.
Love it. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Good job, Ty.
Have a good week, and we'll see you next time.
Stay beautiful.
Bye, guys.
Get that Attica repeater going. This is WRFP 892. How you doing out there, buddy?